Donald Trump is running scared, and despite Trump saying he's going to blow the effing S out of Iran, the United States military is in retreat. The U.S. military retreating from air bases in Kuwait, Jordan, Bahrain, Qatar, and other countries in the Middle East. And now Donald Trump is interfering with the sovereignty of Spain. Donald Trump has threatened Spain before, and now I believe he is putting those threats into action with the help of Netanyahu and Israel. You saw the migrants by the thousands arriving in Ceuta, the city in northern Africa, which is part of Spain, but it's right there by Morocco. There's also a nearby city that's part of Spain called Melilla, which is also in northern Africa. And all of a sudden, all of these right-wing media accounts and right-wing influencers were showing these images of Moroccan immigrants arriving in Ceuta and arriving in Melilla and saying, look, this is what's going to happen to the United States if Democrats get elected in the midterms. Well, as I'm going to discuss in this video, what took place in Ceuta, what's taking place in Melilla, Morocco releasing thousands of Moroccans in order to go to this Spanish territory in northern Africa. It seems to be, at least in my opinion, being engineered behind the scenes by the United States and by Israel, or at least with the help of the United States and Israel, in order to cause chaos in Spain, in order to further a broader narrative that Europe is being overridden by immigrants, and in order to utilize it here in the United States for the midterms, for MAGA to try to scare their base into saying, you see, this is what's going to happen in the United States if you vote for Democrats. I'm going to connect all of this together. This is the latest headline from the Wall Street Journal. The U.S. liberated Kuwait, but now struggles to protect it from Iran. Washington is rethinking the wisdom of its large military footprint in this Persian Gulf country. And it talks about how the Iran war has undercut the arrangement between the United States and Kuwait, specifically because Iran has been, we've been reporting this, bombarding Kuwait with ballistic missile and Shahed drone strikes, and the U.S. military base in Kuwait has become a liability for Kuwait. It's a liability in Kuwait City. It's now a liability for the United States as the Patriot interceptors, the THAAD interceptors, the early radar detection systems have been destroyed by Iran, and the U.S. has been forced to retreat out of Kuwait. The people of Kuwait do not want the United States there. The United States has given money to Kuwait in order to have its military base and to basically infringe on the Kuwaiti sovereignty. But now the U.S. really doesn't want to be there anymore because it keeps getting struck hard by Iran. Kuwait doesn't want them there especially. And so the United States is in retreat under Donald Trump. We're seeing the same thing in Jordan from the New York Times earlier yesterday. Some Jordanians dare to speak out against the U.S. troop presence, and hundreds of Jordanian political, legal, and public figures signed an open letter demanding the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Jordan. They call the American presence a security, political, and economic risk, pulling the country into a war it wants no part of. Now, it should also be noted that the IRGC has consistently been thanking people in Jordan, also people in Kuwait, for helping provide coordinates for the IRGC to target the U.S. bases. Whether that's really happening or that's part of the IRGC's efforts to gain support amongst the people of Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and other places. I'll let you decide that. But the IRGC has effectively been striking these bases. The Al Udeid base in Qatar has been abandoned. In Bahrain, most of U.S. service members are hiding and they're no longer in the 5th Fleet base or any of the other bases there as Iran's able to pummel it with impunity. CENTCOM continues to lie and claim, we've been able to intercept all of Iranians' ballistic missiles and all the Shahed drones have been struck. And we've shown you all of the satellite footage showing Iran's been able to really strike hard at these U.S. bases. At the same time, Democratic lawmakers announcing that they have opened an investigation into the Iranian drone strike that killed 6 U.S. service members in Kuwait and injured dozens, and specifically the cover-up by CENTCOM and why so many of the service members who were seriously injured were not allowed to get treatment. People who suffered from traumatic brain injury and other real catastrophic injuries and other injuries generally were prevented from even going to a hospital and from getting treatment because Donald Trump and CENTCOM were covering up these injuries and deaths. They didn't want it being reported. I've been saying that I believe there's far more casualties than the 600, 650 that are being claimed right now. And I believe there's more deaths than what are being reported. The deaths is harder to prove right now, but I think it involves special forces and CIA sites that have been killed, CIA sites that have been destroyed. And that's, I guess, easier to cover up for the United States. But I think that's where there are more casualties, special forces and CIA related. But there are definitely, I believe, way more serious injuries, traumatic brain injuries than are being reported. Also in Iraq, some U.S. bases being abandoned there. And, the U.S. was claiming when they struck certain Iranian militias within the Iraqi military that they were doing that not just in conjunction with Saudi Arabia, but with the Iraqi government. And then the Iraqi government said, no, we're not granting any approval for any attacks on specific sites or groups within the Iraqi territory, and that Baghdad had no prior knowledge of the attacks, according to the Iraqi news agency. Al-Zaidi, Iraq's prime minister, recently visited Trump. And Zaidi has a very difficult balancing act. Of course, the Shiite influence in Iraq is massive. We all saw Ayatollah Khomeini's funeral procession there with the millions and millions of mourners who showed up. And clearly the U.S. is trying to assert itself and influence al-Zaidi and control al-Zaidi. And so, you have a dynamic playing out there where al-Zaidi's like, stop saying that I'm involved in this. Like, you're going to get me killed. And so you even see this regional chaos caused by Donald Trump's just pathetic behavior as well. I'm going to do another video on this in about 90 minutes. I hope you'll watch it, about how now Donald Trump is saying that he's not going to give Patriot interceptor licenses to Zelensky after promising to give these licenses to Zelensky at the NATO summit in Turkey. And this past week, Zelensky said, Donald Trump promised me these licenses. Donald Trump was luring Zelensky, in my opinion, with the promise of giving these licenses and then making Zelensky desperate and dependent on it, drawing out information from Zelensky that would be helpful for Putin, and then depriving Zelensky of the interceptors. I was warning about this. Trump never keeps his word. And now Trump is saying he's likely not going to give Zelensky the interceptors. I'm going to talk about this in a video that I'm going to do this morning. But in this article from the Financial Times, where they spoke with Donald Trump and they quote him as saying that he's probably not going to give Zelensky the interceptor license that Zelensky so desperately needs, especially before the winter. Trump insisted also that despite Iran's willingness to broaden the war in the Middle East by striking targets across the region in recent days, it would only be a matter of time until Tehran submitted. Quote, "We are beating the hell out of him," Donald Trump said. And then Donald Trump expressed optimism that the U.S. would finalize the landmark civil nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia that was unveiled last week. He had said after the pact was initially announced that it would be contingent on Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, normalizing diplomatic relations with Israel. Saudi Arabia will not be normalizing diplomatic relations with Israel. They're not joining the Abraham Accords, as they've said before, unless and until a Palestinian state is recognized, and unless and until once the genocide stops, a Palestinian state is recognized, and maybe then the Abraham, but not until that occurs. And Saudi Arabia made that very clear. The kingdom will be toppled if they join the Abraham Accords. But I'll talk to you about another kingdom that's part of the Abraham Accords: Morocco. So Morocco is part of the Abraham Accords. King Mohammed VI of Morocco celebrated what's called Throne Day the other day, the 27th anniversary of the dictatorship in Morocco. And King Mohammed of Morocco, part of the Abraham Accords with Israel, so allied with Israel and the United States. And so I thought there was a lot of red flags when I started to see in a coordinated way all of the right-wing media personalities, right-wing influencers, the Trump regime start to post these images of Ceuta, C-U-E-T-A, Ceuta, in Spain. It's in northern Africa, but it's part of Spain. There's Ceuta and Melilla that are kind of right there, very close, right by the Strait of Gibraltar. You think about the issue of all of the straits right now, right? The Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandab Strait, Strait of Gibraltar, right? It will play a significance in transit of ships getting through the Strait of Gibraltar, and Ceuta, Melilla are right there, and they're part of Spain, very close to Morocco, very close to Algeria. Morocco and Algeria obviously in opposition with each other. As Spain moves closer with Algeria, Morocco often will be releasing some of the Moroccans, migrants, often releasing people from prisons into Ceuta and Melilla in order to try to cause internal conflicts with Spain. But what we saw take place in the past 24 hours was thousands and thousands, 10,000, 12,000, 30,000, huge amounts of people from Morocco. And all of a sudden you had all these right-wing MAGA people posting these images. And here's what Laura Ingraham says. This is America if Republicans lose in 2028. Stephen Miller says the Democrats did this to America every single day for 4 years under Biden and will do it again instantaneously, but orders of magnitude greater if they are given any form of national power. Democrats will see your home trampled and stolen by invaders, and they will rejoice, right? So we're approaching the midterms. This is the same anti-immigrant messaging that MAGAs run on. They're doing communism. They're doing, look at these immigrants in Morocco going into Spain. This will be the United States. But when you actually learn the history of what's going on here, you'll see that, for example, back on April 15, 2026, here's what people were commenting at the time who know about this dynamic of Morocco releasing some of its prisoners and people into Ceuta in order to cause internal turmoil in Spain. This is from April 15, 2026. There was, as part of the U.S. policy position pushed by MAGA Congress members and senators working with Rubio, April 15, 2026. U.S. now saying that Ceuta and Melilla are not part of Spain. Not sure if this is a veiled or unveiled threat against Spain's territorial integrity, but at least the Spanish government knows where the threat will come from, and it's not Iran. Just take a look at the map right here where you'll see the Strait of Gibraltar right over there. You see Spain, Morocco, Algeria to the east of Morocco, right above there, right by kind of Spain and Morocco. That's where Ceuta and Melilla is. Notice the Strait of Gibraltar. You can see the Red Sea, Bab el-Mandab Strait, which we've been talking about. You'll see in the Persian Gulf, of course, the Strait of Hormuz right there. And so yesterday you had all of the kind of Israel leadership also kind of randomly posting congratulations to Morocco while this was going on. You have Gideon Sar, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel. Congratulations to King Mohammed of Morocco as he marks the 27th anniversary of his ascension to the throne. Under his leadership, we are working to further cement the ties between our two countries. I also wish to express my appreciation to my friend Minister Nasser Bourita, who has demonstrated his commitment to our partnership. May all Moroccans enjoy this celebration. Danny Danon, the UN ambassador from Israel, says Spain, which never misses an opportunity to lecture Israel, has declared a state of emergency in Ceuta following the crisis over its immigration policy. Maybe before it continues lecturing us, It's time it explained to the world why it still maintains colonial enclaves in Africa. The Israeli Foreign Ministry account to the Kingdom of Morocco, its leadership, and its people. We extend our warmest congratulations on the occasion of this glorious Thrones Day. And then you can see right here images of what appear to be kind of Moroccan trucks bringing in the people from Morocco, trucks full of young people near the border of Ceuta and letting people out on the border of Ceuta. Now, intelligence from Spain says that this is an operation from King Mohammed of Morocco intentionally to try to destabilize Spain, destabilize Europe right now. And it's my opinion, and I'm just sharing you my opinion. You have Netanyahu in Washington, D.C., although he left yesterday, but he was, he's been there for like the entire week, working on Hegseth. Apparently he confronted J.D. Vance, it was being reported. I mean, he was there so long that MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, their leader essentially, his brother, who's the defense minister, MBS's brother, flew to Washington, D.C. to try to get some FaceTime with Trump and the Trump regime, while Netanyahu was there saying, okay, Netanyahu's going to be trying to, having the United States escalate in Iran and engage in more catastrophic war crimes. And so you have Donald Trump, with all of this taking place, also at first earlier this week saying he would give the interceptors to Ukraine via at least an interceptor license. And then Trump going back on that position and saying, no, why would I do that? Licenses are very rare. Why would we give licenses? And then you have this situation developing in Ceuta. And then back in April, you had the MAGA Republicans working with Rubio on essentially a plan for Ceuta and Melilla to be deemed basically parts of Morocco. And, to me, all of this was in motion to then, one, Donald Trump has, said he wants to attack Pedro Sanchez of Spain for not allowing, the United States to use military bases in Spain to attack Iran. Donald Trump was spending, all the time in the same NATO summit where Trump promised Zelensky Patriot interceptor licenses. Remember when Trump was with Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, he was constantly attacking Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain. And, Trump says he hates Spain. He hates the people of Spain. I'm going to get back at the people of Spain. Remember what Trump said in Turkey about Spain? They're bad people. Bad people. Here, play this clip.
Oh, we don't have to trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right? Sure. Take it immediately. Don't even talk to them. They're hopeless. Bad people, because, they have everybody else going and paying and working in Spain, in particular Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular Spain.
So it's my opinion that Morocco, part of the Abraham Accords with Netanyahu. Netanyahu's there. I think on Throne Day, they worked out this up. I mean, I'm giving you my opinion. Feel free to disagree. And there's other complexities in the area, of course, the dynamic of Spain and Algeria working together, Morocco and Algeria being adversaries. And we've seen Morocco release, migrants into Spain before like this. But this was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, I think we've really seen in recent times. And then it being used as a way to attack Sanchez of Spain, a way to attack Spain, destabilize Spain, and then use this as a propaganda gimmick here in the United States to say, don't vote for Democrats. These are the, immigrant caravans that Trump would say in 2024. This is what's going to happen in the United States. They had the cameras ready to go, ready to roll. And, again, that's what I think is going on behind the scenes right there. Meanwhile, we're learning that Trump's attacks on Keshem the other day in Iran killed an innocent family right there. MB Ghalibaf, Iran's parliament lead negotiator, said the United States soils its hands with a new crime every day. The terrorist attack on the residential homes of civilians on Keshem Island is a continuation of the atrocities in Manab and Lamerd. Americans have grown accustomed to making up for the slaps they receive on the battlefield by spilling the blood of innocent. They will pay the price right there. That's what they're saying there. And then on the home front, you have The Commerce Department quietly announcing that Donald Trump would be seizing equity stakes in 7 more companies like he did with Intel. Again, Donald Trump likes to accuse other people of being communists, but Trump's taking over the methods and modes of production of lots of companies here in the United States. Wall Street Journal just did an op-ed about Donald Trump's terrible economy and saying how the tariffs are crushing the economy. And it's a very, Trump promised 4%, 6% GDP growth. Well, we were 1.5% GDP growth last quarter, year over year. And so any promise Trump made about the economy growing, obviously, that was all a lie. Then the Wall Street Journal did another exclusive going after Trump. The boss wants his money inside Trump's unprecedented fundraising operation. And they talk about Meredith O'Rourke, called the Princess of Darkness, who's Trump's main fundraiser, who hits up all of these companies, $50 million, $25 million for Trump's personal projects, for direct quid pro quos to the company. And then the article ends by saying, another way of saying it is simply that we're replacing the free market with the market for Trump's affections. Which we all know, we're replacing the free market for the market for Trump's affections. So GDP growth, very slow, very sluggish, but setting that aside, the American people are suffering. The American people, can't afford anything. The cost of living, it's impossible to afford things. People can't afford their rent right now. Living paycheck to paycheck. Healthcare is being ripped away from them right now. People see Trump manipulating the markets with his oligarchs, and then just interfering with the sovereignty of all of these, with the sovereignty with all of these countries. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. I wanted to give you that perspective. U.S. abandoning bases in the Middle East. And now interfering in Spain. Just interfering everywhere. You have a madman, a psycho, who's out there just interfering with all global affairs everywhere right now and screwing everyone over. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Have you got your copy of WTF America yet? Pre-order it right now. Hit the QR code wherever the QR code is. Pre-order it right now. The pre-orders really help us plan for the book tour, where we're going. It's helpful for us in planning with the publisher, what we're going to do. So if you're planning on getting it later, just get it. If you can get it, pre-order it right now. Hit the QR code. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you, and hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.